welcome to another episode of SJU. It is Tuesday, and I have got a panel of wonderful folks here with me today. I have got me an Ed Greer again. So excited about that. I've got me a Dan Murrell, whose name I... One of these days I'm going to say your name like I'm not the Stay Puft Marshmallow.
That's all right.
It's never going to happen. And we've got returning guest, always happy to have her here, Maggie Mae Fish. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, good to see ya. So we're going to be talking a few things today. It is the 30th anniversary of Kiki Delivery Service, so we're going to talk about that. We're also going to be talking about some trailers. We used to watch the Lighthouse and the Fanatic trailer. We're definitely going to be talking about those. And then we've got a fan question via the community tab. So it is the 30th anniversary of Kiki's Delivery Service. That was yesterday, and it was to celebrate its initial release in Japan on July 29th, 1989. It's a Studio Ghibli film by Miyazaki. It's a great movie. I think it was my first Miyazaki movie.
Oh, that's a good first one, especially for like a young woman. I feel like it's a fun
Well,
yeah.
I mean, not to, no spoilers for this old movie, but there's a cat bus.
Yeah.
There's a bus that's a cat. And it used to freak me out. And my boyfriend at the time would enjoy coming up to me and just going, cat bus. Now, so I'm not like huge fanboy, but I've had the collections and I've seen a lot of the movies. Same for Ed Greer. Mm-hmm. But I know that you are a huge Studio Ghibli fan. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what kind of draws you to the films? Other than obviously the animation is amazing. And who doesn't like flying girls?
Who doesn't like flying girls? First and foremost, that's the biggest draw. No kidding. I think I love the themes that Miyazaki plays with nature and industrialism and humanity, and how do we fit all of those seemingly they don't feel like they should all fit on the earth. Those are too big and they're too much. And I think a lot of his films deal with that. Like, what impact do humans have on the environment? We need our machinery, but that also destroys our planet, which we also need to live on. So in a way, I feel like Miyazaki was much ahead of his time in really digging into those themes and concepts. So.
Do you think that that's part of what made Kiki's Delivery Service so impactful and so iconic in the anime genre, or?
I think so. Well, I think his later films take on more heavy themes. I think Kiki's Delivery Service is it's just such a fun, it's magical. I think when people compare him to Disney, I think there are clear parallels in really fun characters. But I think Miyazaki also gets to escape the expectations that Hollywood places on films. So his films don't necessarily follow the 3-act structure. They really take their time. They're not concerned about notes that Hollywood studio execs would probably give a Disney movie. So in that way, they just feel free and inventive. They don't feel they're checking a bunch of he's not checking off on a list of things that execs need to see. He's luckily gotten a lot of creativity in that area, so.
Yeah, it is always nice when you have your own studio.
I honestly think that is probably why he is so big, probably why people love him so much, because it feels so different, because he got to be in charge of his own studio.
And there's also some pent-up stuff from him having to do TV for a little while, and the limited animation and TV just was dude, I could see this so much clearer. Let me just draw it all. Let me just give it me and 20 guys, 30 guys, 67 guys, me and 67 guys. You know what I mean? And you'd see him working through that, and once he's able to explode upon the big screen, it's all this energy. Yeah. And I like this particular one we're talking about, Kiki's Delivery Service, just because whenever there's a movie, the crisis of confidence of characters. Number one, that's a hard thing to do in animation. A lot of times in animation, unless it's the third act of The Dark Knight of the Soul, they don't really have any doubt. But Kiki was hey man, I got a little doubt.
Yeah.
I got a little Spider-Man 2 going on.
Yeah.
Put the costume in the trash can, walk away. There's a little bit of that going on in a movie that's about a little girl witch. You know what I mean? So there's a heart in there.
Yeah. His characters are so well-rounded and feel very real. He takes the incidences in his films, he takes a lot of inspiration from real life. His dad worked on I think it was planes during World War II, so that industrialism, when he was younger, all he could draw was military tanks. He was just obsessed with with that type of world. So yeah, he draws from real life events. You can see a lot of his films come from like news stories where he found that was interesting, or I think like one of his films was inspired by the story of these like miners who were trapped in a mine, and he was just so moved by like the character of those people. Yeah, so you can see that he takes reality very seriously in his like very whimsical, colorful films, which is very odd, and again, I think is probably why it ends up so fun to watch.
That's great. So why do you, for people who haven't seen this, like Dan, have you seen any of these?
This is a cinematic blind spot for me. Shame me, internet. Ring the bell of shame. I thank you, Ryan.
Ryan. Ryan's got it covered.
Destroy the bell of shame.
There are many genres. There are many filmmakers whose works I very much would need to watch and have not yet watched. Miyazaki is one of those filmmakers.
Oh,
I
yeah.
know it's shameful. I agree with you. I need to have seen more of them. I just haven't. I haven't. I need to.
There's a lot of
So,
movies
yes.
out there, guys.
I am a neophyte. I have not seen them.
With animation, it feels like you get worse castigation for not seeing something because so much work went into it.
Oh,
it's like,
that's
do you
true,
know how
that's
many
true.
dudes were drawing? Dudes and ladies, different people with different. Anyway, lots of people were drawing this forever, and then you didn't see it, and it's like, oh well,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't see that. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard. Everybody has holes in their fandom. Me too.
How can
I
I
haven't
tell?
seen all of Miyazaki's movies at all.
Who among us, you know?
I haven't seen all of Hitchcock. Like, there's a lot of stuff that I'm like not up on.
Cass, he
Talk to you about Jacques Tati. We can talk. But Miyazaki is one of
Well,
my.
it's he who was without sin cast the first internet comment.
But so for people, because we're not the only ones. Everyone, as you said, has holes in their fandom. So for anybody who's watching this who hasn't been able to get into one of these, why do we think that people who haven't seen a Kiki's Delivery Service should get into it? Like, what excites you about that, and what would be like a good entry point for them?
Man, a good entry point. I wrote down 3 of them.
Yeah, you did.
Okay,
Yeah, you
so
did.
Prep.
all right, let's say you're feeling like just childish. You kind of just want to return to like a simple but beautiful story. I would recommend Ponyo. It's one of his more like childish, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a good way. It views like a bedtime story. It's very beautiful. All the animation is watercolor inspired. So it's just a gorgeous film, and it's just an adaptation of The Little Mermaid. It's this little girl who is a fish, and she turns from a fish to a human, and she meets this little boy, and they just have this like delightful adventure. There's like a little bit of danger. There's of course this like undercurrent of the little boy's father being absent and like what that means for their family. But it doesn't take over that it's just a fun adventure. So I think that's on one end of like Miyazaki's wheelhouse, and then on the other, I would say Princess Mononoke is much more adult, very intense. It's a lot about ideology. It's a lot about that's one of the big ones where themes about nature and industrialism and humans and how
is
do
a
we-
balance even possible?
Right, is a balance even possible, or are we doomed to destroy everything? I don't know. Ask me in 10 years.
Or not.
Who knows? But yeah, so I think those are 2 very like polar opposite spectrum of like a Miyazaki taste, if you will. So I think those
Bit
are
of
2.
a muse-bouche. A muse-bouche? A Miyazaki
Sure.
bush. I'm trying.
Miyazaki bush.
Miyazaki bush.
A Miyazaki mighty bush.
Miyazaki mighty bush. So Ed, you've seen a lot of these movies. Which one is your favorite?
I mean, I think Mononoke got a big push in America.
It did.
You know?
Well, because they
and,
got a lot of really good voice talent for that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
Great
yeah.
voice
So I
cast.
think that would be the one that I'm more familiar with. And I just like the, just riding big animals into big battles, and just the blades coming out, that sound, that shing. I just love it.
You like the shing?
The blade.
I love the shing.
So what are some other, aside from obviously these, what are some of your more like, what's a deep cut? Because I think we've talked about a lot of the bigger ones, but what is a deep cut that really gets you where you live?
Ooh, I wouldn't consider this a huge deep cut, but I do feel like it's the one that people least often mention that they've seen is Howl's Moving Castle. which also has an incredible voice cast. What's his name? Batman.
Michael Keaton.
Oh man.
Val Kilmer.
No, man.
George Clooney.
No.
Christian Bale.
Oh yes. Yes,
Kevin
it.
Conroy.
That's
Adam
the
West.
one. Oh my God, there's
Michael
been so
Keaton
many.
does play a
Affleck.
voice in one of them, though.
Robert
I'm
Pattinson.
tripping. But Michael Keaton does play a voice in a
think
Miyazaki movie, but
yeah.
I forgot which one. Internet will look
Thank
it up.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. But yeah, so he plays Howl, and I love it because it's a love story at its core, Howl's Moving Castle, which is odd because, most of his films are like strong female protagonists that, don't really have time for love. But this is one where she's also a strong female protagonist that it's also a love story. And she's the main female character is an old woman throughout most of the film. It's this,
like that.
isn't it great? Yeah, it's like this weird ageism, like she will love him no matter what she looks like, no matter how old and decrepit she becomes. And
that's just a good thing for all of us. That's just what a life lesson.
that's just like a great lesson. And Howl's very vain, and it's fun to have all of his characters, whether they're good or bad, have both good qualities and bad qualities. I think he's great at complicating, our tried and true good guy, bad guy. And so, Howl is very vain, and it's fun just to see a male character who cares so much about the way he looks and his appearance. And that's one of his flaws as a character. It's interesting.
Porco Rosso, by the way, the Disney.
Porco Rosso?
Yeah.
Oh, Michael
Michael
Keaton.
Keaton is it?
That's the one with
Porco
Michael
Rosso.
Keaton. What is Porco Rosso?
That's the one about a pig. That is one that I have not seen. That is my Miyazaki blind spot. I haven't seen Porco Rosso.
You haven't seen Porco Rosso, but it
And
is
also-
about a pig.
Also,
It's
a lot
about
of Americans will have seen Spirited Away too. I was trying to think of the other one that got a lot of push. I think Spirited Away has actually the most. I don't want to spoil anything. I don't want to talk about it anymore. You watch it, like it, whatever. But it has it has kind of a Hollywood ending. Comparing.
Spirited Away is also, I think, the only, if not one of the only movies that broke up the studio stranglehold on the Best Animated Film Oscar. Spirited Away was, I think, the second movie to win the Oscar for Best Animated Film. And I think it set a tone. I can talk about Oscars. I think what happened, what's great about that is it set a tone for that award where, it hasn't happened that many times or at all since, but that the fact that it's not just another studio award that you can welcome in. There have been films like Persepolis that have been recognized in the category before as nominees, and I think it's good to have a force out there that's not inside the United States, it's not inside Hollywood, that's producing work, because that legitimizes the medium on an international level, and I think that's important.
And it is those movies, everybody who watches it knows, but go find a clip, go find a trailer, anything. The animation on that, it is beautiful. It is just flat out art. Yeah. And the smoothness of the animation, how much effort goes into it, there isn't a lot like that. It's really, the visuals, and it really makes it stand out. What for you, what is one of the prettiest of the Studio Ghibli movies?
Ooh, prettiest? Probably Ponyo.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm gonna say Ponyo because I know it's not everyone's favorite. I've been told to my face. No, but I do.
Watercolor for water. It's like a real choice.
It makes sense, and it's just so beautiful. I am also partial to those colors, like the corals and the blues. And it just, to me, it helps convey the story, especially the separated worlds of underwater and on land. On land's very green and lush, and underwater is very cold and blue. So yeah,
Those are your favorites?
and also I think Spirited Away also does dark very well. All the night scenes are gorgeous. Which, I can't even think of a Disney movie that does night as well as that.
There are some great tropes that are in Studio Ghibli. One thing that people talk about a lot is the food and how lovingly it is. The food is very lovingly rendered, and it's stuff where you will see literal compilations where it's just the food of Miyazaki because of how well those look. Are there any other kind of tropes that they really lean into aside from some of the theme stuff that you can think of?
Yeah, food is definitely a big one. There is a scene in Ponyo where his mom lovingly cooks Ponyo and the little boy this like cup of ramen soup, and like the little boy teaches the girl how to eat ramen because she's a fish and she doesn't know, and it's just adorable.
It's funny how that scene is in every like mermaid thing. It's like it's in that, it's in Splash. It's like hey, we undersea, we can't eat. It's just hilarious.
It's weird.
Gotta teach your fish women how to eat.
Yeah, they don't know. They're just flopping. They're flopping squids into their mouths. I think I mentioned this earlier, but one of the things that I do love about his films is that his characters are very complicated and real. So even the straight villains have some sort. They like love their children, or they feel like they're doing the right thing. Some of them are really funny, so that's also endearing. And then even their main characters, you know, they have self-doubt. They don't always make the right decision. They're selfish at times. They're scared, and it is so relatable. And I think he does that better than Disney films do that, to make relatable characters. And I also think, in general, Miyazaki films are easier for kids and adults to enjoy at the same time. That's just fight me in the comments.
And do you have any last Miyazaki thoughts?
Oh, just to echo what she said, we were talking off air right before we got on, and we were saying that like Miyazaki has kind of been semi-quoted in certain interviews being like, I didn't know that I was making stuff for 10-year-old girls until I was like 67 years old. You know what I mean? Like you, as an artist, you don't really know what's your thing. You just go do your thing, and then everybody else gets to tell you what your thing was.
Right.
Everybody else gets to describe your oeuvre. I used that word 3 times.
Yeah, you did.
Everyone else gets to describe that to you. But if you're, I don't want to say a real artist because it's a real Scotsman crap, but you know what I'm saying? A lot of artists don't recognize their, you know, like, ask Quentin Tarantino about them feet. He don't know.
Yeah, he doesn't know.
He knows. He knows.
He doesn't know where it came from, though. I doubt if he could
I
trace
know
his
where it came
origins.
I think we can figure it out.
Okay, maybe not that one, but like, okay, where the lens flares come from? He doesn't know.
Right.
He doesn't know where the lens flares come from. This
just
guy doesn't
their
know where his
aesthetic.
tracking shots come from. There's their aesthetics. It's inside of them, and it comes out. You know.
That's great. Yeah, so go check some of those out. Happy 20th anniversary. And if you have any favorites, please, I'm sure you guys already are. I can't wait to read them. Leave them down in the comment section below because we want to hear some more of your thoughts. We are Screen Junkies News on Fandom Entertainment. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Smash that bell so you get notifications every time we do something cool that goes up. Wow, I think you hurt your hand on that one,
Yeah,
Ryan.
that sounded painful.
Yeah.
Through your palm.
Yeah.
Stop,
Painful.
don't put it there anymore. He's got it in a cup holder, and I think he just keeps smashing his hand. We've got some great stuff on fandom.com. We've got the comic book roots of Jane Foster's Thor, Love and Thunder story. So we know that that's a huge story that came out of Comic-Con, that Jane Foster will be coming Thor for the next Thor movie. If you wanted to get some more insight on that, we do have an article up on Fandom. We have also got the Fast and Furious Cram It. There it is. Dan and Lon just put in...
I mean, Lon, really. I recorded it. Lon does the yeoman's work on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're looking to get in all of that good Fast and Furious knowledge, hashtag Justice for Han, before the Hobbs and Shaw movie comes out.
You know what I found out yesterday on Charting, which was shocking
He
to me.
killed him, and they're all just buds now.
I know.
I love
It's
how much
insane.
you love
I found out yesterday because Lon he watched all of these movies and wrote the Cram It, and he is a fan.
No.
Like post Fast 5, he likes the Fast and Furious. Not that there's anything wrong with it. There's a lot of
Yeah.
people that do.
I do.
I'm just shocked that Lon is one of them.
Yeah, a little bit.
There's nothing wrong with liking the movies. I totally get it. But I was shocked that Lon. They just don't seem to be up his alley.
Because
Is what I'm saying.
that's the point in which they just become so ridiculous and
Right.
fun, and they just
Yeah.
lean into themselves. And I think maybe I'll have to ask him off air.
Yeah.
I mean, I will have to because he's not physically here. But I feel like that's probably what he likes about it. He's just leaning in. Billy Business is crab walking as he keeps trying to fix these cameras. He looks like that shot that they showed today of Sean Gunn doing Rocket Raccoon.
I can see that.
Billy has been Billy has
Billy for Rocket.
Billy for Rocket. Billy has been doing that 4 times. If you're wondering where my eye line keeps moving.
It's impressive. It is impressive. But yeah, no, the cram it. I mean, we make fun of the fact that like it's like, oh, you know, they're intricately plotted. They actually are very intricately plotted. It's just that it doesn't matter. There's a difference. Nothing matters, but they are actually very intricately plotted. So yes, if you need a 40-minute recap of 8 movies that are shockingly intricately plotted together, but will not matter for Hobbs and Shaw. We like to do it. It's a fun show to do, and we just look for excuses to do it. So
please look for excuses. Also, new honest trailer for Battle Angel Alita.
Battle Angel.
Alita Battle Angel, sorry. That is now up. You can click on that. And for those of you, I think most people know by now, but of course commentaries do not go up at the same time anymore. The commentary will be live tomorrow at 10, where we will be talking about why we wrote thing and how words happen. So,
it's true. That's what the show's about.
Yep, that's what
we
it is.
almost called it that. But without Shayla's commentary, it was more catchy. The SEO was a little better than why we wrote thing.
Why wrote thing? How words do.
How words do.
That's what I'm calling it from now on. Next, we have got some trailers. The Lighthouse and The Fanatic trailer have both dropped. The trailer for The Lighthouse is a black and white psychological horror film from A24. It premiered at Cannes in May. It is going to be released October 18th. It is starring Robert Pattinson. I see what you did there. Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe. We all got a chance to watch the trailer beforehand. What did everyone think? I watched it. It's a black and white tone poem, and the only thing I think I know about the movie after having watched it is that it's coming soon.
Yeah.
And even that's vague. Soon? What does that mean?
A24. I'm such a big fan of what they're doing because what they're doing it better than anyone I can think of previously, which is they take a movie that 20 people would have gone to see on its opening weekend, and they market it so well. They release a trailer that's very engaging, and they put it out wide. I don't know what the release strategy on The Lighthouse has been, but the thing that A24 is not afraid to do is take a movie like a Hereditary or The Witch or It Comes at Night and release it wide, where most of the time it would release on a small limited release schedule and then may not ever even go completely wide.
Right.
I like that strategy because I think that it gets these movies out more and in front of more people. Now, what it does do is they market them in such a way that it does set it up for a lot of very mixed to negative reviews, because when you sell a movie like this or like Hereditary or like It Comes at Night as a mainstream film and then you get a wide audience to go see it, there's going to be a lot of people coming out going like, what the F was that? Because that's the kind of movies that they
Right.
distribute.
Yeah.
But I like what they do as far as exposing movies like this to a wider audience, because for every 2 or 3 people that they turn off, the fact that they're turning on 1 or 2 people
Yeah.
to these filmmakers and these kinds of movies, I like that. So it's kind of like when you run a store, I forget the name of it, but like you plan for a certain amount of your merchandise to be stolen.
Right. It's called Shrink. It's called Shrink.
Yeah. You plan ahead knowing that X amount of your merchandise is just going to disappear for whatever reason, break or get stolen. I think A24 realizes that, like this is our strategy, and we realize that X amount of the audience is going to be like, I'm never going to go see another one of these movies again. But what you're also doing is you're growing a fan base, and I like that. It's
What's funny is that a lot of those dudes will not remember it was an A24 movie, so they'll still go see the next one.
Oh, yeah, they're like,
Right.
oh, Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
He's going to be Batman. Let's go see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what did you guys think? It's very wet.
You know what? I was.
Ooh.
It was.
Oh, my.
It's a lighthouse standing out amongst all this splooshing. Yeah, so basically, I liked the fact that I haven't seen anything like it probably ever.
Right.
Like at first, it was almost. It freaked me out how they all sounded like Popeye the Sailor Man. And I get how authentic that is. After a minute, it's just like, okay, how does Queequeg and these other fools talk? All right, fine. Listen to the. So I get that, and I think I could get really into it. I must say, the last time I saw a movie like this, it was like There Will Be Blood, something that was intensely period, but in in such a consistent way that it didn't yank you out of anything. It's just like, well, this is the world now. It's
Yeah.
like 3 hours is the world now. I would love to see something like that. And A24, as Dan said, for everybody they turn off, they're making people like myself go, I guess I'm down with this gang. I like to think about David Foster Wallace. I like this thing. I like that thing. Where else can I get this stuff?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the point of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I loved The Witch. It was one of my favorite horror movies that came out recently. I don't know why. I just loved it. I loved the ending. I thought the director did a really good job because I had the same question when I saw the trailer for The Witch. I was like, I don't know about these accents. I don't know if this is adding to the movie. And then I saw it. I was like, no, it's very consistent. He does a very good job. The actors did an incredible job making it just feel like you were trapped with that family in that time period. And so very similarly, it's like a single location.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
this heavy dialect. So I have a feeling that what he accomplished in The Witch, I think, will be translated. And I just love black and white movies. I'm just a sucker for them. I'm a big sucker. I feel like they're just, any person who went to film school, they're like, you should see our movie.
Well, yeah, no,
Yeah.
a abstract black and white 4:3 aspect ratio two-hander with Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe is the most A24 thing I've ever heard in my life. And this looks super interesting, and I'm hit or miss on A24 movies, honestly. I always appreciate the fact that they're odd, but at the same time, a lot of times I'm like, hey, I get it, but why? So the only downside I think to the strategy that A24 takes is I do think that they market a lot of these movies so aggressively. The Witch, for example, I was watching, don't judge me, a lot of Catfish on MTV when The Witch was coming out.
No judgments. They
And-
shouldn't have called her a
I see,
fat ass
yeah.
Kelly Price.
And every other ad was for The Witch.
Yeah. It's like, is
The
this are these
scariest
the
movie
people?
of all time,
Right.
And the only thing is, in getting this wider audience, the thing that they do risk, and I think sometimes they go a little bit overboard, is they market a movie so aggressively and maybe to an audience that may not dig it, and they paint it as being a certain thing that it might
Right.
not be. I think that's where you risk.
Yeah, that doesn't serve your movie.
I don't know if it serves the movie,
Well,
but it
it's-
gets it in front. It's like the devil, the devil and the angel. Do you want more people to go to your movie and find those fans, or do you also risk people? It's such a complicated. But A24 is taking that on, and most studios won't.
No.
Well,
Yeah.
Paramount
It's just-
kind of dabbled with it with Mother, and I think they're like, "Oh, we're never doing that again." So yeah,
I do not like Mother.
I was not a fan.
Ooh.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that we were all really excited about it. I felt claustrophobic watching it, which I think is supposed to be the point. Obviously, we don't know what it's about other than somebody who wants some beans spilled. But
Spill the beans. No, but what I liked about that thing, I think Willem Dafoe says it's something like, have we been here for 2 days or 5 weeks or something?
Yeah.
That's like, okay, you got me. That was nice. I was like, oh, dude, this is it's almost like a Siege Perilous or something. They're trapped,
all right, so now going from that to something completely different, the trailer for The Fanatic starring John Travolta and Fred Durst came
Oh,
out
yeah.
last week. Now, is Fred Durst actually in
No,
this, or
he's
is
the
he
director.
directing? Yeah, I thought that he was the
Director
director.
Fred Durst.
Director Fred Durst
Of Limp Bizkit fame.
of Limp Bizkit fame. I begged my mom to let me go to the Family Values tour. Okay, so this is going to be released in just a couple weeks on August 20th. The synopsis for this, if you are not aware, Moose is a rabid movie fan who is obsessed with his favorite celebrity action hero, Hunter Dunbar. Great name.
Great.
When he is cheated out of his opportunity to finally meet Hunter, Moose gets a little help from his friend Leah, a well-connected paparazzi photographer who knows how to find celebrities' homes. Hey guys, if you know where celebrity homes are, don't tell that to
Don't
other
tell
people.
anyone, no.
That's not their business. Moose turns to stalking to get to the celebrity interaction he feels he deserves. Starts to get a little misery. From what it looks
Exactly,
like.
Misery. I was like, this is Misery. What? What?
Misery in a Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah. John Travolta.
That's quite quotable. Yeah.
Yeah, no, so, what was everyone's first impression of this? Because I know we have been hotly awaiting the arrival of this trailer in the office.
Yeah, I mean John Travolta, man. it's just how he chooses, because he doesn't need the money. I don't think.
No.
I mean, I know he like owns a plane and he has like a runway at his house, but like
Yeah.
I don't think he needs the money. So it's more just like I guess he likes to work, which is fine.
Yeah, we all like
But
work.
these are the roles that he's getting right now, and it's odd. I mean,
Coming right off of Gotti.
Gotti was like
Yeah.
his passion project, for better or for worse. For worse. But this one is like, it looks interesting at least. Like there's the part in the trailer, I don't know if like where he's Jason.
Yeah. I thought I was hallucinating. I was like, but I was like, oh, he loves movies. That could be fun if that plays a large part, like him reenacting different movies that he loves.
Yeah, is this like a soft
And
reboot?
Misery, like maybe that's the point.
Oh, maybe that is
It's
the
like
point, yeah.
kind of Misery-esque. The costume is cool. Like he looks like an old dude. He doesn't look like John Travolta.
That's a great wig.
That's a great
That is a-
wig.
Yeah,
That is
which
a-
he would know a lot
Beard.
about.
Which he would know a lot of. Look, that man knows his way around a lace
Knows
front.
his way around a hairpiece.
He definitely does.
He
but-
stopped hiding it. Everyone knows now. It's like
Yeah.
he often will wear a hairpiece.
Yeah, there's nothing to be wrong. I'm wearing a wig right now. There's nothing wrong with good wig
Well,
work.
and-
I wear my version of a wig every day.
You have your hat, I have my hair hat.
Exactly. Yes.
I don't have my hoodie on today. So I flip it up. Yeah. These type of movies. There you go. Bang. These type of movies have their tropes, and I think it's become its own genre. Because it's either I'm gonna show you the life of the common crappy little man that you crap on, and you look down your balcony at me and blah blah. There's that sort of thing, but then there's also like I could be you, I live as you, I wear your skin type of one.
Right.
And then there's this one who seems to be like kind of a mix where it's like I'm gonna show you the error of your ways. Type of captor. There's all these
Right.
different sorts of weirdos, and I think this is probably Fred Durst wrote the story. And I think this probably comes from some of his, interactions with people.
Yeah.
Will do it all for the. Anyway, they'll try to do anything to meet him. You know what I mean?
Come on.
I mean, people be rolling up on him, and this is his response. The story I feel like it comes from a real place.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you watched an interesting movie recently.
Oh boy, did I! Oh boy, did I, guys! I did. So I watched Battlefield Earth. Is
Yeah.
that- yeah.
Yeah.
John Travolta's Scientology film. Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were, the choices were very strong.
Very, very strong.
I'll tell you what wasn't strong. Those applications in their fingers that kept them from waggling. These big ass fingers. They were like, "Look here, sir," and they just waggle.
But that was a key. We talk about John Travolta. That was a key moment in John
Yeah.
Travolta's career.
He just had that big
He
resurgence,
had a
and
lot
that's
of capital that he spent on
and
that.
that's what he used it for.
And that
If you hear
kind
the
of
words,
didn't work out so well for him.
Yeah, if you hear the words John Travolta, Passion Project, jump out the window like an action movie hero escaping a fireball. Just jump away from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just get out of there.
It felt dangerous. I don't know. It felt so weird. It felt like a part of his psyche I never wanted to go to. And like there it was. To his credit, he was like having a blast on set. It seemed
yeah.
like he is full, like 100%. Like no one held him back. No one gave him any direction.
Yeah.
So it's
him-
like
I mean himself, right?
Yeah. Besides himself, unbridled Travolta.
Yeah.
For better or for worse.
chewing all the scenery. Just
Yes.
chewing it in his
Yeah.
weird fake dreadlocks. All right, here's the most important question, the question everyone here has been hoping we would get to. What comic book movie should Fred Durst direct? Any of them. I think Dazzler.
Dazzler?
Yeah, I put him on a Dazzler movie.
Okay. Oh, I got it. I
Yeah,
got
he
it.
knows music. He understands the glitz and the glamour. I think that he would be good for a Dazzler movie.
I would say, piggybacking off of that, I would like to see him do Flash Gordon. I would like a new
Oh.
Flash Gordon. I mean, he's not like,
I think if you take a look around at the comic book world, how could it be anyone but Lobo? How could Fred Durst direct any superhero but Lobo? Right?
Yeah.
It just feels like
Oh yeah.
it feels like Fred Durst directing Lobo. I'd go, yeah.
No, that's
Dude,
right.
and Lobo listens to Fred Durst and Korn and stuff because it takes a long time for the signals to go out to space.
True.
So he's like behind.
Well, maybe that's why he came, because he also wanted to go to the Family Values tour, and he was hoping it would still be going by the time he got to
Yeah, he gets here, he's
man.
like, what? They're not cool anymore? And it's instant, murder.
That is like the most Lobo thing in the world. He shows up on Earth to go to the Family Values tour, and he's upset.
And he's upset.
And he cannot see that wonderful.
He was mad he missed the corn cage.
I had the live CD. I'm not absolving myself.
I've seen Korn live. Like, I went to Korn and Rob Zombie. It was when I was a kid, and there was the corn cage, which I think everyone thought it was going to be something sexy, and it's just a bunch of teenagers screaming. Like, it's not, the corn cage was not sexy. It's also weird because it's a cage full of people. All right, last we have got a fan question. This is via the community tab. I don't think I have a name for this fan, but this fan...
That's my fault. I'll put it in the comments, fan.
We'll put it in the comments, fan, because we love you. I heard a quote recently that movies and art in general seek to disturb the comfortable and comfort the disturbed. What movies have disturbed and/or comforted you the most? As far as just, I want to put something on and it's like a warm blanket and I know that it's going to make me feel good. Old school Disney is always really good for that if I'm having a day. I've talked about how much I love Almost Famous. That's another movie that I turn to if I want to watch something that's just like, I just want to like live in this world and be cozy and be around all of these, awesome groupies. And, I love Breakin' 1 and 2. I've talked about it before. Breakin' 1 and 2 are movies for me where I could just put them on and I'm like, he's on the ceiling because he loves her. Like, it's great. It's great. He's magic and no one acknowledges it. He can lift a broom, he can dance on the ceiling, and it goes unacknowledged.
Yeah.
It's one of the first superhero movies when you think about it.
I do, often.
Nick Fury shows up at Venice Beach. All right, you guys saved the community center, but that was just part of the adventure.
Yeah, I guess like my two comfort movies is Drop Dead Gorgeous.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, because I know there's like disturbing scenes in it, but they're played so like, that movie I could just sit and watch Allison Janney talk forever.
I am in love with Allison Janney. Like unabashedly.
It's amazing. She's amazing.
Yeah.
And then also Hamlet 2 is like,
wow.
Yeah, I don't know why. Other than I love Steve Coogan. I can't defend myself.
Oh,
No,
nice.
there's no defending. It's great.
Yeah.
Those
You know
are
what?
nice and weird choices.
And not quite, but What Hot American Summer is another one for me that I can always just put on. Yeah.
I mean, obviously the favorite movies, comedies and stuff are very comforting, but I will often find comfort, and maybe it's just Schadenfreude and bad movies.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh,
Sometimes
big fan.
I need
Huge.
to watch The Happening. Sometimes I need to watch
Yeah.
Birdemic or Superman
Yes.
4 or Jaws the Revenge.
Whoa.
I just
or-
rewatched Birdemic 2 days ago.
Yes, it's like there is oftentimes, I think perhaps just the idea of like if I'm down on myself, it's just like, see, other people failed too.
but they're still taking risks.
But they're still
out there.
and people love it. So I do feel like that there is a weird kind of comfort, and it's not even in a sneering, cynical way, but just
Right.
in a sort of like shared humanity way
Yeah.
of just like sharing in the what I'm sure at some point caused someone some grief, or as an example, like The Room, of something that was mocked and derided and laughed at, but ended up becoming a wonderful thing for that person.
I have that entire movie memorized.
Yeah.
And another thing, I think I really like the the not MST3Ks, but they do the riff tracks.
Riff tracks,
And those are another thing
yeah.
I can just put on the riff tracks
the
for
riff tracks are
Twilight.
great. Yeah.
I just watched that the other day. Maybe because you were tweeting about it. I don't know. But I did. A++.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
I'm big MST. Yeah, that's something you can put on in the background. Except you start to get drawn into it to where you start out drawing or doing whatever else you're doing, and then you end up on the couch looking directly at it. And you get all the jokes.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a danger zone. But I have weird ones. Jackie Brown and Boogie Nights.
Alright, weird.
Both of those to me feel like I'm hanging out with my friends who happen to have done porn and are criminals. But it's just, there's something about the chill out nature of, your friend showing two guys showing each other gun videos with hot ladies in bikinis and talking about it. Like, who does that? Like, that's Quentin's best feature is he just sometimes just sets it up and goes, "Hey, I'm gonna leave. Do something. You guys have a fun time out here." That's what it feels like.
Right.
And I love that sort of stuff. And Boogie Nights has a bunch of sequences like that. And then when you're not even looking at it, you could tell the different sections of the movies by the needle drops. And they're almost like chapters, you know. And it's kind of amazing. So I like those movies both because obviously they hit me at a certain time of life and impacted me, but they're just hangout movies. I really like movies that feel almost like television shows, where it's like a lot of times, like I've said before, shows are either about we're going to accomplish this today, us and the team. Every time we accomplish it, at the end we've accomplished it, or hey buddy, let's go hang up at the copier machine, do do do, and then this guy comes out of the bathroom and says his line, and everybody goes, "Oh Johnny," you know. Those are the two ways TV shows more or less break down, and I like the other one more than the goal oriented one. I like hangout things, so
maybe that's what because I totally get what you're saying, and because I love commentaries, because I like, if I already like the movie, I like listening to people talk about the movie, which I assume that you guys do, or that you wouldn't watch anything we do. But so yeah, maybe it's also because it's just people hanging out and talking about this thing that they love. All right, so let's get to the disturbing stuff. What do you watch that disturbs you?
I just watched the 1983 Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Ooh.
That, oh my God. I'd seen the original. I was like, all right, Body Snatchers. It doesn't even hit anything emotionally for me. Like, I'm not afraid of an alien coming to take my body. But that movie was I was on the edge of it very much freaked me out and definitely disturbed me. And the emotional character beats were so effective. I was like, whoa. And I was thinking about it for days afterwards. And I think especially because going into it, I was like, whatever, this doesn't mean anything. But it's such an incredible film and definitely disturbed me. Yeah.
A recent one that I watched, I gotta say, I love Upgrade. I love it. And it disturbed me very much because all of these movies are always about the robot monsters are gonna get us, blah, blah. But they hardly ever touch on how often what we want impacts how the machines kill us. You know, on the way towards the machines killing us, we make a bunch of self-damning decisions, thinking in a short-sighted manner that, oh yeah, me and Machini are gonna go kill these guys over here, and Machini's like, I'm gonna kill you later. You know what I mean? So that movie, no spoilers, but there's a lot of things in that movie that kind of explore what about your own goals got us all killed by these damn machines?
Yeah.
You know.
One for me is the Sleepwalkers, the Stephen King adaptation. I know a lot of people think that it's kind of silly or bad or whatever. I don't know what it is about that movie that disturbs me so much, but it is incredibly disturbing. That and I will never watch this again, the Garbage Pail Kids movie.
That really is disturbing.
Genuinely very disturbing. It gave me nightmares as a child.
My God.
It's just disgusting.
I think, there's movies like Requiem for a Dream that are just tragic and sad. But I mean, something that always bothers me, and the kind of movie that doesn't mean they're bad movies, but I'm very unnerved and unsettled by tragedies that result in a miscommunication, or when two people just barely miss each other, and if they had just one of the things that I found to be, I know a lot of people kind of look at it as pop candy from the 90s, but Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet.
Right.
There's a touch that he put in there that I think added so much tragedy to that ending, where right before Romeo drinks the poison, Juliet wakes up and sees him and doesn't say anything. And if she just said something, then it would have been fine. But that little touch to me added to that story.
Nice.
Stories that are about that are about a miscommunication or a misunderstanding, and then it's not in the rom-com way where that's the third act of every rom-com. But by the end, it's all resolved.
Right.
But
it feels out of your control. That's something you could not have planned for. It is a miscommunication. It's something. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
when that leads to a tragic ending. ending or a resolution like that, I'm always just like they it frustrates me, and I'm just like go out of it like, oh my, like even if I've seen the movie, like I just hope that maybe this time they'll talk to each other.
just say it.
And they'll work it out and figure it out, because otherwise it's like, but yeah, those are the movies that like I'll watch and I don't come out of it soothed or eased. I'm just like, if they just, why didn't they? Yeah, that's very, very disturbing.
Very disturbing.
Yeah.
Oh, also, Dreamcatcher is another great. Oh my God! Not disturbing. It is comfort food.
Dreamcatcher. I saw Dreamcatcher. First of all, when I went to go see Dreamcatcher, I was standing in a big line. It was a pre-screening, so I was standing in a big line, and my friends were telling me, especially at that time, I was a young man. Yeah, I was younger than I am now, and I was a real idiot. And I said, "Dude, you don't even know when like girls like want to talk to you. Like you're such a jerk." You know, and I'm like, I am not. Nobody wants to talk to me. So this beautiful girl walks up to me in the line and goes, hey, what's this line for? And I'm like, hell if I know. And it's like, my friend's like, dude, you just did it. You just did it. You were self-sabotager. So I have a girlfriend now, so I eventually conquered it. That's part of that story. But the bottom line, I saw it, and these two teenagers were in front of, I guess, older teenagers than me at the time. And they just savaged that movie. And I hate when people talk in movies, but they were just on it.
I mean,
I just tip the hat.
I would pay to watch two teenagers watch Dreamcatcher.
Oh, dude! When the blank weasel is in the thing, and he's leaning over to get his toothpicks, they were like, "Oh man, this dude a fool, man." Or fixation my ass.
There is nothing more devastating than an insult from a black teenager. I'm sorry. Nothing hits you.
Nothing more withering.
So precise.
It's so precise.
But it was a fun time. But yeah, that struck me as like, that's one of the around that time is when I really realized people made movies, because I saw some really good stuff, Pulp Fiction-y sort of stuff. And I saw some really like, some people made this. This is so ridiculous. People had no machine made this. People made all these mistakes.
Yep.
These are look at Morgan Freeman's eyebrows, bro. That's a whole chapter in a book. He looks like J. Jonah Jameson dipped in chocolate with big eyebrows. That's nuts. I mean, that whole movie's nuts. So yeah, watch Dreamcatcher, guys. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, I guess that's it for the show. Watch Dreamcatcher. Look at okay, but no, you can do it. Take us out, Billy. Billy played it.
Chocolate dip J. Jonah Jameson.
Chocolate dip.
That's Billy choking it.